Stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dr. Shute.
Here.
Mr. Jester.
Here.
Miss Romeo.
Here.
Miss John.
Here.
Mr. Sharon. Colonel Hoskenlaw.
No, sir, there's not. No, sir, I would report to you under the architectural report, however, that we have occupied all of our additions and have occupancy permits for those. We still have a couple with the punch list. It's being worked on, and I would like to, over the next 2 to 3 weeks, set up various tours of those buildings for you to go through and see the new portions of the building. And if that'll work, I'll just simply coordinate a schedule with you. We'll try to do it in the evenings and hopefully it'll be cool.
Will there be ribbon cutting?
Whether it be ribbon cutting, we can have ribbon cutting if we want to have ribbon cutting.
I would like to, if we could invite the public.
We can do that. We can get the kids involved. And, but the main thing I want you to see is the nice quality of the facility the children are in. Rather than portable. I would tell you that a couple of portables, a lot higher, are still there, but and won't be moved until we need them someplace because it takes roughly $4,500 on each portable to move, and we'll just wait and move it when we need it someplace rather than just relocate it or relocate it. But it's exciting to go out and see those new classrooms and the new multi-purpose rooms and libraries out there in the building. So, report? Not this evening. Under the superintendent's report, item 7A this evening, I would ask you to consider to take action to approve Helena John as the Oklahoma State School Board Association legislative liaison. You will remember that about 18 to 24 months ago, I believe we appointed Mrs. Romeo to that position. She since has been named to the board of directors for the Oklahoma State School Board Association. And that leaves this position open for our board, and we're entitled to have her vote as an officer on the board and also a liaison vote. So it would be important that we have a representative in this position. So if there's no objection, I would make that recommendation to you.
Move for approval.
Second.
Mr. Jester.
Yes.
Miss John.
Abstain.
Miss Romeo.
Yes.
Dr. Shute.
Yeah, I really figured there would be a rush on this position if I sure got to do that. Under item 7B, this evening, I would ask your consideration and approval of the proposed revision and adoption of the policy that's listed. Policy that's listed is policy DNA. All of those other policies that are behind it are specific areas in which DNA kind of comes into play. What DNA is, that's a strange acronym or a letter configuration, but what it is in this particular situation is the teacher evaluation process. And these are the details. We were sent this under separate cover. There's roughly 100 pages of evaluation details here, so I won't go through it, but you'll remember back in March, we approved using the Tulsa model for teacher evaluations and the McReal model for the administrative evaluations. What Mrs. Ellis and her staff have done is go through and update our policy to put those in place to replace the old tools that we use. And hence we have the 100 pages of how to evaluate or how we're going to evaluate. I would be glad to answer any questions I can, or Mrs. Ellis here this evening to answer any questions you might have for her.
Ms. Ellis, I do have one question. On DNA/P, there's just a housekeeping issue. On number 2D, under conferences, the word must, the M is strike through. So if we make the motion to approve, I'd like to have that correction put in there, that it actually be the word must. Okay, thank you.
I move for approval.
With that
With the correction.
With that correction.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Miss John.
Yes.
Ms. Ranier?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Dr. Seuss?
Yes. Thank you very much. Item C, 7C this evening is an information item. I have to update the budget. I had intended to do a budget workshop with you this evening, but there wasn't much of a workshop, and I'll explain what I mean by that statement. What I've just passed down to you is our revenue forecast for fiscal year 13 versus what we actually collected last year. I won't read all of these to you, but you can see the first column is what we had last year, the second column is what we're projecting for this year, and then the third column is the difference. It's in parentheses, it means we're getting that much less than we got last year. Most of those are strictly estimates as you look at them, like on the ad valorem tax, where it shows there's a $5,000 difference. That may turn out to be $5,000 plus instead of $5,000 minus, just depending on who pays taxes and when they pay them and so forth. Those are kind of best guess estimates, and we're basically saying we anticipate the ad valorem tax for a current year will be pretty much the same as it was last year. However, as you go down through there and you look, when you get down to 41,430, which is the sale of buildings or real estate, you'll notice that last year we had $1 million worth of land that we sold to Memorial Hospital that went into our budget. We don't anticipate doing that again this year. Now, that doesn't mean we don't have land we'd like to sell. So if anybody's interested in buying it, we certainly would like to help you fulfill that dream. But there's $1 million that was in last year's budget that won't be in next year's unless we do that land. Then moving on down to almost the bottom, we're 43,210 down there. Foundation and salary incentive. That is where we took a $1.7 million cut, almost $1.8 million from the state. Now, that was originally when it came out, and you may have noticed in the newspaper when it came out, it was $2.2 million. We did get a little bit of an adjustment in that after they made the payments to the charter schools for their enrollments, they came back and gave us $9 more per student. And we have roughly, according to the formula, we have roughly 25,000 students. So we got about another $250,000, not quite, but pretty close to that. Anyway, the net there is 1.765 that we will not be getting. As you go down just 3 lines, you'll see that there is a line called cash forward. Cash forward line is basically how much money did we have when we ended the year. Now, if you look in 2012 FY, we had $2.3 million at the end of that year. However, at the end of 2013, we're projecting only $700,000 in cash forward. So we are looking at almost $1.6 million. Did I miss something? Okay, almost $1.6 million in terms of less money. So now we have the $1 million on the land, we have the 1.7 on the foundation, and we have the 1.5 from the 6 on the cash forward. Then, right under cash forward, we have the impact aid. That should be Title 8 instead of Title 4. But you can see that we're projecting a $1.8 million loss in impact aid. Part of that is simply the fact that there are more students drawing impact aid, and the payouts to the districts that are highly impacted, like the Colleen and some of those that have tremendous number of students. Those are all done prior to us getting our funding. So we're projecting a loss of almost $2 million there as well. And then the last slide is the state textbook. The little box probably says it best, but we're $6.5 million less money than we had last year. We have already cut $3.4 million out of payroll. That's what we've been doing most of the summer to try to get things to work, trying to staff with less people and still be able to get the job done. However, as you can see, that still leaves us with 3.3 in there. And we had a $265,000 increase in workers' comp insurance. That is basically because we had a couple, and I'm going to say a couple because 2 I can think of right offhand, horrendous claims. We're talking about $300,000 to $500,000 kinds of claims with two individuals in the period of time where they average to get our premiums. And so that increase has to be added in as a new expense of $200,000. So you can see, as of today, we're $3.3 million short having the revenue we had last year. So what we're currently working on is to trying to find places and ways to adjust our budget so that we can close that deficit amount. We will bring a budget to you on September 20th, and hopefully it'll be one that balances. Well, it has to balance, but it certainly will probably have to be revised on a monthly basis as we go through the year and we see the changes in our income and so forth. I know I laughed about selling land and so forth, but we do need to keep our land on the market. We have 34 acres. Actually, we have 24 acres at 52nd and between Rogers Lane and New Cache Road that is still for sale. The hospital has an option on the other 10 acres already. But when they'll exercise that remains to be seen. But we will continue to do that to try to take care of the shortfall. I'll continue to work salaries. We will be closing the enrollment center as of this Friday. Those individuals will be moved into jobs that we would have normally had to go hire someone to do. We will get away with the custodial supervisor positions. Those individuals are being moved back in custodial jobs we had to hire for. We're doing away with physical education coordinator for the district. That person will go back into a PE job that we have open that we would normally have to hire for. We have cut several positions at Shoemaker, and we've cut several positions across the district, which are already reflected in that $3.42 million. The ones I gave you right now are not reflected in that 3.2 there, but they will be rather minuscule in cutting that amount down. What I'm saying to you is we are looking under every rock trying to find money, and we're looking every place we can to trim the corners and cut the cost of doing this. But I needed you to see that and understand exactly where we stood. You might remember toward the 1st of August, mid-July, Cameron announced that they had a $1.4 million deficit in their revenue this year. Then they went to the reserve to get it. Well, this is our 5th year in a row to take cuts from the state, and our reserve went by the wayside about 2 years ago. So we don't have a reserve to go get that. We're just going to have to cut the expenses and live within those means, and that's what we'll be doing throughout this year. So that's my challenge at this point, and I needed you to be in the loop with me on that, knowing what was going on, because I'm sure whenever I have to make those decisions, and they will be tough ones, and they're not necessarily decisions we want to make, but they are decisions we have to make in order to make to meet our fiduciary responsibilities as a board and as a superintendent. So I just wanted to share that with you this evening and brighten your day a little bit in my report.
I have a couple of questions for you,
Sure.
Terry. What other parcels of land do we have available?
We have 6 school locations, and I don't know that I can call them all off. We have one in Lee West, which is 5 acres. We have one in Ranch Oaks, which is 5 acres. We have one in White Acres, which we cannot sell. When the 10 acres in White Acres was set up for a school, there was a revisionary clause in there that if the city didn't use their 5 acres for a park and we didn't use our 5 acres for school, it reverted back to the Wyatt family. So it's not available for us to sell. Obviously, we probably could sell that one first because the neighborhood is still growing and there would be a high demand to my lots. I would have to look and see. I believe one of the other school sites that we had was in Sungate, and there's no need for school in these areas, but there's also, most of them, no demand for the property either. They're currently being used, most of them are currently being used as parks because they're adjacent to 5 acres that was given to the city. And so, like in White Acres, we use that for soccer fields for the kids at Woodland Hills. That's where they do all their practicing, soccer and some of their baseball. The one in Ranch Oaks is on the edge of the property and it's not used for anything at all. The one in Lee West is used as ball fields and part of the park. But I will get you the exact list A couple of those are a little bit bigger than 5 acres, they're like 5.6, something like that. But I will get you a list of the vacant lots plus the area we have at 52nd and Cash Road.
Can you tell me also what positions we cut at Shoemaker?
Oh, my goodness, we...
I don't need names, I just, the position itself.
I just have to get you a list of all those. We have, I'm trying to think, absorbed one. Well, we absorbed the administrative position I told you about today. We have absorbed one other. There is a retirement that will be taking place in December, and that job will be absorbed as well. There is another position that's in litigation right now that will be absorbed as well when that litigation is ended. There will actually be about it'll turn out to be about three and a half positions less up here. We have absorbed 4 clerical positions at this point. One of them we're going to be able to fill them, 2 of them, with people that are in these other positions that are coming back in, so they still have jobs. So the cut will actually be on the other end of this, and then we'll be adding a secretary to one of our buildings, and we'll be adding a secretary to one of our others, probably transportation as well. So, but I just, as far as the actual titles, I just have to, curriculum jobs are the ones that are getting ready to open up, or getting ready not to be replaced, I should say.
We had talked about this once before, Barry, about possibly the community or foundation stepping up to help. I know that in Oklahoma City, they've had a couple of people step up and give large grants or donations, I should say, not even grants, for teachers' salaries and things such of that nature.
Yes, and I need to go back and tell you one other thing about the revenue. This number of deficit does not include the $1 million it would take to do the step raises for staff. So that would be 4.3 million instead of 3.3 if we did that. The good thing about our salary schedule is that it's a couple $1,000s over the state salary schedule already. Always has been much better. Of course, as we skip a year with the steps, it closes the gap back down. But what you're referring to in Tulsa and in Jinx, there were 2 individuals, I believe, in Tulsa and multiple individuals in Jinx that just donated $1.5 million to each district to help them close the gaps in their budgets and help keep class sizes down a little. I know they still have some issues in Tulsa. I think Jinx issues have been resolved because of that 1.5. Tulsa's still trying to make theirs work out. If we have anybody out there that's got $1 million laying around, we certainly we're give you a tax credit, of course, or a tax credit, or a donation credit, whatever you'd like to have. That's part of what we're going to have to discuss as the year goes along. And one of the things that happens in districts like that pass bond issues on a regular basis, they shift all of their maintenance into the bonds. We're paying our maintenance out of our instruction money because we don't have bonds to do it. The fact that we went 25 years without passing a bond put us in a real deep hole to try to get out of, and that's really what we're still recovering from, to be quite honest with you. If we had bonds, and we could say that our maintenance salaries, our utilities, most districts pay their utilities out of what we pay our maintenance out of, because we're paying our utilities out of instructional money right now. So it is a case of, yes, bonds would help, and that's where the community could help us, and it could be an immediate help. But we will certainly, I guess I'm not broadcasting, we will certainly be looking at all of those things. And it may be that that's something we have to do to try to get through till the end of the year. We are 2 years out on our sales tax. 2 years from December, our sales tax will expire. And of course, that money is dedicated to specific projects. So it had to be listed on the ballot, and it has to go to the buildings we listed there. By the way, thinking of that, we did get delivery of 3 new buses today. We will get 3 more new buses tomorrow. That will go into service at the end of the week or the first part of the next week. So that's part of the sales tax money coming through, which is good news.
The bond that we passed back in '04 has now all been sold, and it will be paid off in 2014-15 school year, because you sell them, and then it takes a period of 24 months to pay them off. So that bond will be coming off in a year or two. That's really where we need to go in this district. Those are conversations we need to have. If we could get to a point where we either extended the sales tax, the half-cent sales tax, and I'm going to use the word indefinitely, but for an extended period of time rather than just 5 years, so that you could plan part of your maintenance out of it, part of your technology out of it, part of your buses out of it, those kind of things, then it would take all the money that we're now taking out of instructional money and put it back in so that we could meet the obligations we have to our teachers and our staff. Same thing with the bond issue. If we could pass the bond issue and know we had $6 or $7 million a year coming in, and that was going to be for an extended period of time, then you can move those expenses over into that area. And that's how districts do it. And then what happens after you do the first issue, and of course we could say virtually the same thing, that if we extended the sales tax, and I'm just going to pick a number here, if we extend our sales tax for 10 more years, it's not a tax increase because it's already in place. It just stays there for 10 more years, and we're paying the same thing we're paying now. But it would give us the opportunity to begin to budget and project on out on an extended period of time rather than playing catch-up. Everything we've done so far is to try to get rid of portables, to try to get our facilities up to a level that they're just decent enough for kids to be in, so that we have central heat and air conditioning, which is going on, getting ready to start that. It's going on at Eisner High School, getting ready to start that at Mack High School, just getting ready to put on the streets both Ike Junior High and Mack Junior High for that. We're getting ready to put the Eisner Auditorium back out for cooling, heat and cooling, those kind of things. But that will consume the rest of the bond issue, and that's just to get our buildings to a point where they're acceptable. It's not to help us move to the next level. It's just to help with the catch-up thing where we got behind over a 25-year period, and that's a sad situation to be in, but it is one that can be remedied. We have a tremendous number of people in our community that support us. It's just such a tough economic time, and we've got to break a trend, and that's a little harder than continuing to do what is already in place. And so, of course, my recommendation, as you know, to the board would be to continue the sales tax, because our community has been so supportive of that. It feels like it's a much more fairer tax because everybody pays based on what they spend. And we get, out of every $5 we collect, one of those dollars actually comes from someplace outside of Lawton, somebody that doesn't even use our facilities. So we're getting a 20% bonus, so to speak, on that our patrons are not having to pay. But those will be things I'll be bringing to you to ask you to look at and project as we go into the balance of the year and down the road in the next couple of years as to where the district is headed and what we need to do to get us back on the right track. We are putting way too much of our instructional budget into things that are non-instruction, into repairing things, into paying electric bills and
landscaping,
water. I'm sorry.
Building maintenance, yeah.
Yeah, building maintenance, and that needs to be over in a bond issue or in a sales tax to do that. So we have the disadvantage right now as are the last few years, despite the projected BRAC growth, there really was none. We're actually declining a little bit in terms of the number of students we have. Not huge numbers at this point, but certainly nothing like what was projected we would grow. And so when you start to decline, you still have all the infrastructure to maintain, but you're no longer getting the dollars for the students to help maintain it. So it takes a toll on your budget, and that's where we are. So,
Thank you.
thank you. And that's all I have for you this evening.
Are there any items that need to be removed or discussed on the agenda?
Move for approval of the consent agenda. Second.
Call the roll, please.
Ms. Romeo?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Chester?
Yes.
Dr. Schuh?
Yes. Executive session this evening?
None this evening, yes, sir.
Superintendent's personnel report?
Under item 13A, I would ask you to vote to approve the employing, promoting, disciplining, and receiving of resignations of individuals certified and support salaried personnel listed on pages 82 through 85.
Move for approval?
Second. Call the roll, please.
Ms. John,
Yes.
Mr. Jester,
Yes.
Ms. Romeo,
Yes.
Dr. Schuster.
Yes.
Thank you. Well, wait a minute.
Consideration of any new business? Next board meeting date is Thursday, September 20, 2012, at Shoemaker Center. Any board announcements? Consider a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Jester,
Yes.
Ms. Romeo,
Yes.
Ms. John,
Yes.
Dr. Schuster.
Yes.